L is the greatest detective in his universe. He was able to deduce the capabilities of Kira and narrow down possible suspects. In order to narrow down suspects and deduce the capabilities of your target, you need to find the connections amongst the things that they themselves are doing. We know that within about a week there have been an increase in heart attack victims across the world. The one connection this increase in heart attack victims have in common is that they're all criminals. L decides to pursue this lead looking through all criminals that have died of heart attacks recently. Because L did this, he was able to find a case where a criminal died of a heart attack but was only broadcast in the Kanto region of Japan. As a detective, L has to be able to find clues that lead back to his intended goal. L's goal is to capture the mass murder in Kira, so keeping track of everything related to Kira, no matter how simple, is very important. When Kira starts changing the pacing of his killings, L takes note of this, using the idea "don't believe in coincidences." L could have just thought that Kira decided to change the pace of his killings for no reason. He could have assumed there wasn't any purpose for Kira to change the pace of his killings. However, because L doesn't believe in coincidences, he is able to question why Kira would start changing the timing of the deaths he commits. There must be a reason for everything Kira does. Now that we know L doesn't believe in coincidences, he should now question everything that Kira does. Why would Kira change the pacing of his killings? Why would Kira set each death to occur every hour on the hour? What else has occurred at around the same time Kira started changing his killing patterns? By questioning everything Kira does, L is also able to look for answers to those questions. Before giving up, when you're stumped on a question, you should at least try to attempt to come to the most logical conclusion you can come up with. Because L has questioned everything Kira has done, he can now look into what the possible answers to his question could be. Why would Kira set each death to occur every hour on the hour? Kira is telling us that he can control the time he wants his victims to die. Why would Kira change the pacing of his killings? So that we can't track the timing of when he's killing. What else has occurred at around the same time Kira started changing his killing patterns? Kira started killing at different time intervals just after we assumed that Kira could be a student because of the timing of his killings. This means Kira knew about our theory that Kira might be a student. How would Kira gain access to that information? Kira must have access to police information, making Kira either a task force member or someone related to them. By asking these questions and answering them himself, L is able to discover vital information about Kira's whereabouts and abilities. L was able to look past what others would consider a coincidence by second-guessing everything and attempting to answer his own questions. The reason L was able to come this far is because he was able to look at these events from the possible perspective of his target, Kira. By putting himself in Kira's shoes, L was able to see a possible way for how Kira could get access to police information from Kira's perspective. L is able to deduce the connections between Kira and his victims through the methods he uses. L knows that Kira is killing criminals across the world without being there in person. This proves that Kira is using supernatural means of killing his victims. What methods does Kira use to be able to kill criminals? Kira hasn't killed anyone whose names have been omitted or misspelled, which proves to some degree that Kira needs a name to kill. Kira hasn't killed criminals whose faces have been hidden. This proves to some degree that Kira needs a face to kill. Though some of these things aren't 100% possible, they are highly suggestive to be correct. Using that, L can take precautions against these weaknesses of Kira. After his broadcast and the FBI agent's deaths, it further proves L's theories. If Kira didn't need a face, he would have been able to kill L during the broadcast. If Kira didn't need a name, he would have just looked at the FBI agents to kill them instead of testing his abilities. Now L knows what can be proven about Kira's abilities. He can be sure how to fight against them. This also prevents L from going on wild goose chases. L uses the ability to look for inconsistencies to lead him back to his intended target. While watching some of the deaths of the FBI agents, he able to notice something out of place, being a folder or envelope Ray Penber is carrying with him. Because L saw this, he was also able to point out the absence of this item when Ray Penber died. Items people usually don't carry or things people carry all the time but then leave behind can all be considered suspicious behavior. And these are the main attributes of L that he uses to solve the cases he participates in. These are his capabilities and how to think like him. Do you think there was any other pointers that L used that I missed? Let me know in the comments.